الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا من يهد الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله وبعد. Today is the Barakallahu Fikum Yom al-Ahad, Sunday, somewhere around the 28th or the 29th of Safar, November the 27th, 1430, 38 on the Hijri calendar, 1437, pardon me, on the Hijri calendar, equivalent to 2016. And inshallah ta'ala, today, this is a pre-recording of my class this morning, the Rusul Muhammad by Sheikh bin Baz. And but that particular class, we took a reminder, some statements from Sheikh bin Baz and Sheikh bin Baz, Imam Ibn Baz, and Imam An-Nawawi, and gave a reminder from last night's talk at the gathering, as one of the brothers from the Sudan, he died. One of the brothers from the Sudan, he passed away. So we remind the people of the ni'mah of life, the power of dua, and the importance of being upright, and reminding ourselves to stay in the remembrance of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala at all times. Wallahu musta'an. نعم موجود.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على أشرف المرسلين والعاقبة للمتقين ولا عدوان إلا على الظالمين. Before I pass the mic to Sheikh Akash, I would like to reflect on something, inshallah. And there is Janaza will be tomorrow, inshallah, after Salat al-Asr, as I heard. It's not confirmed yet, but 95% is going to be after Asr tomorrow until someone. All of us, we should know that, as I mentioned yesterday in the khutbah, we said, إِنَّ اللَّهَ عَلَى كُلِّ شَيْءٍ قَدِيرٌ. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, تَبَارَكَ الَّذِي بِيَدِهِ الْمُلْكُ وَهُوَ عَلَى كُلِّ شَيْءٍ قَدِيرٌ. What's after that? الَّذِي خَلَقَ الْمَوْتَ وَالْحَيَاةَ. Why? لِيَبْلُوَكُمْ أَيُّكُمْ أَحْسَنُ عَمَلًا وَهُوَ الْعَزِيزُ الْغَفُورُ. There is a lot of signs, many signs from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that we need to reflect on in this life. Why we are here, why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created this life, why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created this in life. A lot of things. Today, only today, how is this life is amazed. Ajib ad-dunya. Only one day. We have aqd nikah, we have newborn, we have someone who passed away. Three things in one day. As an imam, I go through all this one day, today. Allah, this is from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Allah created something. وَخَلَقَ كُلَّ شَيْءٍ فَقَدَّرَهُ تَقْدِيرًا. Newborn, someone passed away, someone is get married, and this is the life. This is the sunnah of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This is the way of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, how He created the human being. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the only one we need now. If someone passed away, انقطع عمله, all his action, all his deeds start. From the moment that he passed. What we need now to make dua for him, for his We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to go through all of His mercy and shower him His forgiveness and strengthen his family and his kids. Allahumma ameen. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to accept his soul among righteous ones. Allahumma ameen. قولوا قولي هذا وأستغفر الله لي ولكم. إن شاء الله Shaykh Akash has something to share with you, inshallah.
Okay. You sit.
You can sit.
You sitting or you stand?
Huh?
You will stand.
Who's sitting there? You can sit. Bismillah.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين وصلى الله وسلم وبارك على رسوله الكريم وعلى آله وأصحابه وسلم تسليما كثيرا وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله وبعد. I just want to mention a few beneficial things that it ties into what Sheikh Misbah mentioned. And wallah, I ask everybody to stay because you will benefit from this. I ask that no one go out in the hallway and talk, but to benefit, as he just mentioned, the issue of life and death. Wallahi, nashkala tabaraka wa ta'ala. We thank Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in this because it's from His wisdom and from His knowledge that you learn when you have masa'ib, calamities. And Thursday night, which we consider the Thanksgiving night, and Laylatul Jumu'ah, I was on my way, me and my wife, to Whiteville, North Carolina. And my purpose was to go for khutbah on Friday and to do some Durus al-Ilmiyah seminars and so forth, Dawriya like this. And as we were on Service Road, if anybody knows the area pretty well, Service Road and Chapel Hill, Durham Chapel Boulevard, as my wife turned onto the Service Road, she started to say, as I can't see, so I'm only narrating what she said. She said, why is this person, in my lane? So there was someone ahead of us coming oncoming traffic, like you would say, head on. So she kept saying, what is she doing? What are they doing like this? And to find out, they were coming in and out of the lane. Their lane, our lane, their lane, our lane. And so my wife was going about 25 miles an hour. And she's, mashallah, tabarakallah, may Allah preserve her and bless her. She's a defensive driver, meaning she learned how to try to avoid accidents. So using some of that skill, she went as far over to the end of the road, reaching the grass, and the lady still hit us head on. Had it not been for the decree of Allah, firstly, as then we say, what we try to do and will, wallah, I might not be standing here today. You might have had 2 more janais. And the car was totaled, the Jeep that we drive, it was totaled, and then the lady found herself behind us, maybe 100 feet or so, going this way from the impact of the car. And wallahi, Prophet he mentioned, when you leave your house, many adhkar, many dua, you should teach it to your children, your wives. Don't take this lightly. Because I always ask my wife, did you make the dua? And she says yes, and I make it too, and that is to say, A'udhu bi kalimati Allahi tammati min sharri ma khalaq. I seek refuge in the perfect words of Allah, the perfect words of Allah, from the evil that you created. And wallahi, even though the car was totaled, even though the impact was tremendous, we didn't suffer any broken bones, neither fracture, and we were picked up Friday to go to Whiteville to Dawah and come back. So this issue of life and death, wallahi, we have to take advantage. We have to take advantage, as one of our scholars, Sheikh Mabaz, said, "Man ittaqallah, وَمَنْ اتَّقِ اللَّهَ وَصَابِرْ فَإِنَّ اللَّهَ يَعِيدُهُ وَيَفْتَ لَهُ الْخَيْرِ." Whoever fears Allah, wallahi, this is the issue now while we're alive. Because when you die, there's no more fear in Allah, which means to be mindful of Allah, to do what Allah said, to leave off the evil. Wallahi, we take this lightly. But you don't know what's going to be your last movement, what's going to happen in front of you. We don't know. Wallahi, we don't. And the dua of the Prophet it's true. You may be tested, but Allah will protect you if you make the dua. But when it's your time to go, كُلُّ نَفْسٍ ذَائِقَةُ الْمَوْتِ ثُمَّ إِلَيْهِ تُرْجَعُونَ.
then the time is up. Every soul is going to test their death and is going to go back to Allah. So Allah, be mindful of this. Don't be from the ghafilin. This is a reminder for us all as again, one person here today, he's gone tomorrow. Someone's getting nikah, now, maybe tomorrow someone will be getting janaz. So this is the reminder that I want to give, and I want to thank all of the people who made dua for us and made the calls, and we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for the dhikr of the qalb wal lisan, the remembrance of Allah in our heart and on our tongues. We ask Allah tabaraka wa ta'ala to preserve us all and to make us from those who get the best of goodness out of our life. And if He tests us with something, we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to bless us in that test. وصلى الله وسلم وبارك على رسوله الكريم وعلى آله وأصحابه وسلم تسليما كثيرا ونسأل الله أن يرحم الأخينا بارك الله أمير ونسأل الله أن يتصبر أقاربه وأهله وأسأل Allah to give him the highest space in the Firdaus al-A'la. We ask Allah to remove him from any hardship, adhab al-qabr. We ask Allah to protect him from the punishment of the grave and to give his family patience, وأن يخلف لهم خيرا من ذلك, and to replace them their loss with something very good. وصلى الله وسلم وبارك على رسوله الكريم وعلى آله وأصحابه وسلم تسليما كثيرا. جزاكم الله خيرا.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen. Wa sallallahu wa sallam wa baraka ala Rasulih al-Kareem wa ala alihi wa ashabihi wa sallama tasliman kathira. Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah wahdahu la sharika lah wa ashhadu anna Muhammadan abduhu wa rasuluhu wa ba'd. We're still with a small essay of Al-Imam Abdulaziz ibn Abdullah ibn Baz rahimahullah, Durusul Muhimma li'amat ummah, some of the most important lessons that all of the Muslims should know. And the last class we took wajibat as-salah, the things you have to do in salah. There were 8, and sikut tashahud, the wording of the tashahud, meaning what you say in order to exit the prayer. And we'll ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to accept from us. Ameen. But this morning I want to mention something that I mentioned yesterday. It was a very beneficial statement, along with the statement of Imam al-Nawawi rahimahullah, where he says, Al-dhikru yukun bil-qalb wa-lisan. Al-dhikru yukun bil-qalb wa-lisan. Imam al-Nawawi, he said that remembering Allah can be with someone's heart, with the heart of an individual, and his tongue. So, and here the first point is that the remembrance of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala can be of 2 types. Either in someone's chest, his heart. And when you hear in the chest, they don't mean the chest, but they mean the heart that's in the chest. Because I've heard some comments about some of the translations of Quran when it's mentioned the chest, and Allah says sudur. Allah is talking about the chest. He's actually talking about what's in the heart of the person that's inside of the chest. And no one would disagree that the heart is in the chest cavity. So here the Shaykh al-Imam al-Nawawi, he's mentioning الذكر يكون
بالقلب واللسان. That the remembrance of Allah can be with the heart and the tongue. وأن تجمع بينهما فهو أفضل. And if a person combines between remembering Allah in his heart and on his tongue, is better. فاقتصى يعني واحد على آخر واحد على نعم على الآخر فقلب أفضل. He said, and if there's to specify one of the other, which one has the most virtue, then the remembrance in the heart takes precedence and is better than the remembrance on the tongue. And also Ibn al-Qayyim al-Jawziyah, he mentioned this as being shukr, giving thanks to Allah Ta'ala. So remembering Allah as a type of gratitude, as Ibn al-Qayyim al-Jawziyah himself, he said, Ashukru al-ta'a li-mun'im. Naam, that giving thanks is being obedient to the one who gives you. And you all know when you have a child, and you give the child this, you give the child that, you give him or her, or those children, certain things, you expect them to be good in return. You don't expect them to be disrespectful or to be defiant or problematic. So here this is the same case in general, and in specific when you talk about the servants and the one that created those servants, who was Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Shukru al-ta'atu lil-mun'im. That the real thankfulness is obeying Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He is the one who gave you everything. Therefore, Imam al-Nawawi, the point, when he said الذكر يكون بالقلب واللسان وأن تجمع بينهما فهو أفضل, and that the remembrance of Allah is in the heart and on the tongue, and if you gather between the two of them, it is better. Because sometimes you can't remember Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala on the tongue. Like for example, when you go to the hammam, هل يصلح يعني واحد في حمام أن تقول سبحان الله الحمد لله لا إله إلا الله والله أكبر? Is this okay for someone to do this in the hammam? No. لا أبدا. لكن في قلبه ماذا يجوز أن تذكر الله تبارك وتعالى حتى بهؤلاء الأوصاف الجميلة بقلب دون الصوت. So did you remember Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the hammam? And sometimes a person, he may think that the saying is enough. The saying is enough. And we know this is not true. The saying is not enough. You have to have belief with everything that you say. But sometimes the remembrance on the tongue is a great issue, such as in the days of Hajj, when the people, they say labbaik Allahumma labbaik labbaik la sharika laka labbaik innal hamda wal ni'mata laka wal mulk la sharika la. This is a'zam on the tongue on that day, because you're proclaiming that greatness of the trip to worship Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala on the tongue. And by the way, this is not considered niyyah, as some people misunderstood. And they have also said that the Imam al-Shafi'i fi kitabi al-Umm ذكر أنه النية ولكن ليس الموجود ولا صحيح. But in the great book al-Umm, Imam al-Shafi'i wrote about the way to worship Allah and the different chapters, which is over probably 3,000 pages. It's not mentioned in this book that the statement for Hajj Talbiyah is in niyyah, in his opinion. No. Rather they call it a description of something, and this is the remembrance of the tongue. So you see, that's a great issue. And likewise, on the day of Eid, for the people, they make the takbirah before the salah. So both of them are great, the dhikr of Allah on the tongue and the dhikr of Allah in the heart, but it is better to do them both. And if you can't do both of them, you have to choose, then the remembrance in the heart is better. Also, we mentioned last night, Barakallahu Fikum, that Imam Ibn Baz, he said, من اتقي الله والصابر فإن الله يعيده يعني الأسباب الخير. Whoever يعني remembers Allah, and this is another meaning of يعني taqwa, that you remember Allah. But it also means that you do something too. You stay away from what Allah prohibited, and you do what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala He loves. This is the meaning of taqwa. And some people say, and taqwa just means to be mindful of Allah in the heart, but it's more than that. As the ulama, they mentioned that taqwa asluhu mada wiqaya. Wiqaya in Arabic means sitran. That something is covering something, and they say it is a satar bain al-aq wa rabbih. That is something between you and your Lord that keeps you from His adhab and His sakhata. That He gets you and punishes you. This is the meaning of the taqwa. And that's what Tabaraka wa Ta'ala mentioned. وَمَن يَتَّقِ اللَّهَ يَجْعَل لَهُ مَخْرَجًا. Whoever obeys Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala and observes this taqwa, Allah will give him a way out. Therefore, Imam Ibn Baz, he said, مَن يَتَّقِ اللَّهَ وَالصَّابِرَ فَإِنَّ اللَّهَ يَعِيدُهُ أَسْبَابَ الْخَيْرِ. Whoever he has the piety of Allah, and he exercises the patience. Sabir, meaning he's fa'il, he's doing the action of restraint. He's doing the action of continuing upon obedience. He's doing the action of staying away from what's haram. And he is one who makes himself content with what Allah decrees. Then Allah would aid him and help him with many ways to all types of good. Now, Allah would aid him and help him to all types of good. And then he said, وَصَحُ لَهُ طُرُوق أو أسباب نافع. And Allah also make it easy for him to obtain many things that will benefit him. Look at the different things in your life. You look around and say, wow, look how Allah blessed me to benefit from this. Look at how useful this is. And look at something that he sees insignificant. But for me, Allah opened the door, and it's a lot of things that I can see good and beneficial. And this comes from the taqwa. This comes from the piety, the remembrance of Allah, and the patience. As Salam, he mentioned, من قام رمضان إيمانا واحتسابا غفر له ما تقدم من ذنبه. Whoever stands in the prayer, meaning the tawheed, and he is doing it, believing in Allah and seeking the reward from Allah, what happens? Allah would remove for that person his dhunub, his sins. So this is the reality. Allah will give you many ways if you are from those who observe and practice the taqwa, and the patient will give you many ways of something that's beneficial. And then last, the Shaykh, he said, وَيَمْنَعَهُ الصَّبْرُ وَيَمْنَعَهُ الصَّبْرُ وَيَمْنَعَهُ الصَّبْرُ وَثَوَابَ الْجَزِيرِ حَسَبَ صِدْقِهِ وَإِخْلَاصِهِ. And likewise, Allah would prevent a person from patience. How many times you find we try hard, but in some areas you don't hold patient? And how many times you have something that's a benefit, an ajr, a thawab, a great wage for you can earn, but you miss it. And the Shaykh is saying that likewise Allah prevents a person from patience and earning a great reward. He pushes back the reward from that person based upon the level of truthfulness, sidq, and based upon the level of ikhlas, the person's purity in what he's doing in worship. So you find the issue of the taqwa, the issue of the sabr, the issue of the sidq, truthfulness, and the issue of the ikhlas. All of this is a reality for us. And this we can look at lastly when we talk about our journey through this life. As wallahi, the brother, wallahi, will be prayed over today, wallahu musta'an, and the book is closed for him. Has no more opportunity to practice taqwa, or to evaluate, or to be patient, or to be truthful, or to have ikhlas. But Tabaraka wa Ta'ala, he wrote all of this, as a sheikh he called last night, لِيَبْلُوكُمْ أَيُّكُمْ أَحْسَنُ عَمَلًا, to see which one is going to keep up his ibadah, which one is going to lose hope, and which one in good times is going to remember Allah and not say, well, I have good times later for Allah. Which one in hard times is going to call on Allah and not despair and go to the haram. Which one is going to remain truthful even if you find that the people would despair against him. which one is going to have sincerity in this worship that Allah may accept from him. And this is from some of the reflection that we should look at and think about, which will enable us to do as much as we can before the angel comes. As Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, لَكُلُّ نَفْسٍ ذَائِقَةُ الْمَوْتِ ثُمَّ إِلَيْهِ تُرْجَعُونَ. Every soul will taste death and then he will return back to his Lord. We ask Allah tabaraka wa ta'ala to make our hearts alive with taqwa and sabr. Ameen. We ask Allah tabaraka wa ta'ala to give us truthfulness and sincerity in all of our statements and actions. And we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to give us a good ending. Husnul Qatam ala ma yuhibbu Allah wa yarda. Sallallahu wa sallam wa baraka ala rasulih al-kareem wa ala alihi wa ashabihi wa sallama tasliman kathira. جزاكم الله كل خير والسلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. وياكم.
Nah, alhamdulillah. Okay, of course, for today, no problem. We'll keep the schedule for today. Yeah, but